Welcome to A Taste of Trinity, where we allow theological issues to be addressed in an everyday setting. Today we have with us Dr. Mark Center. Dr. Mark Center is a full professor in Christian education at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. He has a bachelor's degree, an MA, and a PhD in the foundations of Christian education from Loyola University. We brought him here today so that he can bring some expert reflection on the issues of youth ministry in the 21st century. Dr. Center, please come and join me as we address this really important issue for the church today.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. It's so good to be with you.
And as it is always with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Center, you've had a golden opportunity to spend over 3 decades in the field of Christian education, and particularly looking at the issues that have to do with youth ministry. You are a youth minister yourself in the church, involved in youth ministry, and have continued to allow yourself to be connected to youth ministry. Many of the books you have written have brought scholarship to the subject and to the issue. We have 3 of them here with us today. We have the 4 views of youth ministry in the church. We have When God Shows Up. It's an historical view of youth ministry. And we also have Reaching a Generation for Christ is one of the books that you have written. And so if people want to look deeper into the subject matter, you would of course refer these particular books to them.
I think they'd be very helpful to them, and they have been, actually they've been translated into other languages as well, so somebody else has found them useful.
And it sounds like that somebody else is around the world and
That's
not
right.
just in America.
That's right.
So tell me about what would you bring to bear as being the importance, and probably even before we speak to the importance, let's speak to the issue of what is youth ministry, because sometimes we think we know a subject and we don't know it as well as we think we really do.
Well, let me put it this way, Dr. Reynolds. Youth ministry begins when a Christian adult finds a comfortable way to enter a student's world, a high school student's world. It could be younger, but what youth ministry is all about is building a relationship with young people. A person who is established in their faith, and that includes parents, it includes grandparents, as we are finding out now. It includes people that are just a little bit ahead of them, college-age people, young adults, but it's building a relationship with them so that they can be drawn to Jesus Christ.
Now, I'm sorry, Dr. Center, but you have addressed this issue from a reverse position. Almost everyone defines youth ministry from talking about the subject or the person who's engaged in youth ministry. But what you have just said to me is that youth ministry is adults finding ways to be involved in the lives of youth as they're growing up.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that's why the Christian community, that's why the church, that's why people that have a deep belief in Jesus Christ are so important to touch these lives at transition points. Actually, what we really like to see is adults, young adults, whoever, walking with kids so that when something goes wrong in the life of the kid, they're there. They're available. They can respond, because you and I know there's something going to go wrong in the life of every kid, and they need help. And that's what Christian youth workers do. Dr. Reynolds, it's not about a program. It's about being there, about being in the life of that kid at that special time. Like I say in the title here, when God shows up, it's unexpected. But the adult, many times, is going to be that person that helps the young person get perspective.
Well, you're telling me that the church is a place of resource. You're telling me that the church is a place that comes alongside, assists, and helps in the care of young people, and particularly in developing their faith. However, my church experience has been that the church has been blamed for what happens with the children under their care. They've been responsible for the total upbringing and the shaping of the faith of the children. So people will say, hey, our young people don't really have faith, and it's the church's fault. Would you agree that the church is failing when the youth have not been able to possess their faith position like they should have? should parents be able just to come to church and drop their kids off and walk away and leave the responsibility to the church?
Youth ministry is like a three-legged stool. There are three very important things. The kid himself, because that kid has to make decisions. The parents are vitally important. And in fact, if the parents really were doing the job of nurturing and caring for them, we probably wouldn't need the church to help us out.
Wow.
But life is so complex that we need the faith community, the church, the body of believers, where the people just sort of bump into kids and help them at different times. I had a lady just 2 days ago said, "How's Nicky doing?" That's my son. "How's Nicky doing?" I remember when he was, and she started telling me stories about when he was in their church and he was a handful.
Was he?
She loves him still. And that's what youth ministry is all about. It's about adults loving kids.
Well, I'd like to tell you that, of course, all of my children have been perfect, Dr. Center.
Well, I know that.
The problem really has been that the rest of the world just hasn't recognized their perfectness along the way. But
okay, you're a pastor. There's an ethics problem. No.
well, I thank God for youth leaders who have come alongside.
Don't
but
we
I
both?
do take the responsibility for the upbringing and the raising of my children.
Yeah.
But still yet, after this good effort of raising them and bringing them along, isn't it true that after they graduate from high school and after they come out of high school, they just fall away in their faith and fall away in their walk? We're struggling with what happens when they go to college. Tell me a little bit more about, is this true? And is that what's really happening when they engage in their college or post-high school life?
There's a major study that's going on at Fuller Theological Seminary called the Sticky Faith Study.
Now, right there, I want to know about that. We're going to go to a commercial break. You all heard it here. The Sticky Faith
Project.
We're going to come right back and talk about the Sticky Faith Project. And Dr. Center is going to tell us much more about that.
New Life Celebration Christian Academy, the right choice for developing tomorrow's leaders. New Life is registering students from 3 to 14 years of age now for their fall academic program. Full and part-time rates are available. DCFS and DHS Action for Children vouchers are accepted. Family rates available also. Enroll now by calling 708-849-2787. Our program offers high standards for curriculum, character development, Christian discipleship, physical education, student computer lab, Spanish, arts and crafts, and more. New Life Celebration Christian Academy, conveniently located at 14243 South Dante in Dalton, Illinois. Register now, 708-849-2787. 708-849-2787. New Life Celebration Christian Academy. We're growing leaders here.
Trinity has had a dedication to the Chicago students for the last 30 years or so.
All kinds of arenas of life are engaged in this kind of setting.
We take the centrality of the gospel and ask, how does it speak into urban realities?
We have younger students as well as people who are already professionals, and they come here to enhance their Christian education or their theological education.
Thank you for tuning back in. We're here together now talking about the Sticky Faith Project. And Dr. Center is going to tell us a little bit more about how that helps us understand youth ministry and what goes on post-high school.
There is a dramatic drop-off of church involvement. It doesn't necessarily mean they've lost their faith, but many people, once they leave high school, sort of go into a moratorium where there's re-examining their faith and they walk away from it. And what the project at Fuller Seminary is doing is saying, what causes the faith to stick? Thus the sticky faith idea. And many of the things that they're finding out have to do with very early on adults teaching the faith to kids, but also grandparents sharing their stories. walking with them through experiences, inviting them to go on work projects together. It's an intergenerational type of thing. Many of these kids are going to walk away and not come back, but many of them are coming back because we don't just say, you've graduated. What we're saying to them is, you're part of a community. This community needs to care for you when you go to job, when you go to college, when you are experimenting, when you are beginning to make some bad decisions. We stick with you.
So kind of the stick-on project is not just the kids sticking, but also the adults sticking with them through some difficult times.
It's a Velcro thing. It's two parts of the whole thing. And we really need the Velcro of adults sticking with those kids. And some of the times the kids are pushing away, saying, don't do it. And yet we're saying, we're sticking together.
So we shouldn't just look at what's going on behaviorally sometime with our children and decide that they've given up on their faith.
Now let me take you back to kindergarten.
Okay.
Because youth
You
ministry,
say that like that was a long time ago, but okay, go ahead.
it was a long time ago. I think I flunked kindergarten. But we can tell pretty well what kids are going to succeed as early as kindergarten. Not always be able to discern the depth of their faith or anything like that. But from kindergarten, first, second, third grade, if we are very careful in teaching them, modeling for them, embracing them, sticking with them even at that point, there's a very good chance that when they hit junior high and begin to have those hormones go wild inside their body, and later on when they have left home and no longer have the home rules, you know, that mom says, I got to be back at a certain time, after those things go away, there's something more that's established inside of them. So the sticky faith is a series of relationships, but it's a series of embedding Christian decision making. If there's one thing that we want to help young people do, and that is to make Christian decisions. Now, I don't mean just the decision to invite Jesus Christ into my life. That's extraordinarily important. But decisions about, what do I do at a party when things start going bad? What are my alternatives? How do I make good decisions in bad situations? Because kids are going to be involved in those things.
Wow. Well, you know, I'm hearing from you today about our need to be engaged in the life of youth so that we can assist them in their process of growth and maturity in Christ.
That's right.
However, there's a need for us to understand the mindset of kids so that we can engage rightly. Tell me a little bit about some research study that's going on that can give us a little bit about how children, young adults are seeing God, and the way they see God is determining what kind of God they end up serving.
There's a massive study, 3,000 high school students done a number of, about last decade, and then that same group tracked into college and then eventually tracked into young adulthood, done by Christian Smith, starting at the University of North Carolina and then at Notre Dame. And what they discovered is that young people today have created a theology that was really unrelated to their church's theology, officially. But they are picking up their theology from their parents and people in their churches, and this is what it looks like.
Wow.
They believe that God exists and created everything.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about young people today being agnostic. They really believe that there's a God.
That's a good
Secondly, yeah, and that's encouraging because there was a time in which they were skeptical about that.
Okay.
Secondly, God wants us to be good, moral, and kind. Whatever we do, good, moral, and kind. Now, that's one of the big deals in high school today. You've got to be kind to everybody. Everybody has got to be treated somewhat equally. The third thing that they're believing is that what we want to do in life is be happy and to be fulfilled.
Well, that reminds me of a statement that people used to always say that came out of Jamaica, right? just be happy, right?
Be happy. That's right.
And a lot of people want to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the reggae thing really come right into our culture.
Wow, wow. Well, what we'd like to do is to step away for a moment, go and take this commercial break, but only to come back to engage. What does it mean when they say they want to be happy?
New Life Celebration Christian Academy, the right choice for developing tomorrow's leaders. New Life is registering students from 3 to 14 years of age now for their fall academic program. Full and part-time rates are available. DCFS and DHS Action for Children vouchers are accepted. Family rates available also. Enroll now by calling 708-849-2787. Our program offers high standards for curriculum, character development, Christian discipleship, physical education, student computer lab, Spanish, arts and crafts, and more. New Life Celebration Christian Academy, conveniently located at 14243 South Dante in Dalton, Illinois. Register now, 708-849-2787. 708-849-2787. New Life Celebration Christian Academy. We're growing leaders here.
Trinity has had a dedication to the Chicago students for the last 30 years or so.
All kinds of arenas of life are engaged in this kind of setting.
We take the centrality of the gospel and ask, how does it speak into urban realities?
We have younger students as well as people who are already professionals, and they come here to enhance their Christian education or their theological education.
Thanks for joining us as we are engaging in this important subject of youth ministry. I have with me Dr. Mark Center, who is an expert in this area, and he's allowing us to be able to expand our knowledge about youth ministry. I was just discussing with you, Dr. Center, about the issues of how best might discipleship be done. And you said there's other avenues besides just one-on-one. Now I'd like to ask you the best methodology that it might be done. And shouldn't we just gather them together in a room and just read as much Bible as we possibly can and hope that they simply just grow from being engaged with biblical thought? Is that also, because remember, at least my experience has been a lot of youth ministry has been people sitting in a room hearing the gospel being poured out to them. Is that the best method for it to be done?
We never want to substitute teaching of God's Word for fun and games. Okay? Let's just take that off the table. But teaching God's Word does not mean somebody just preaching. The key thing in youth ministry is getting kids involved, moving towards something that challenges them. The book that I've written, When God Shows Up, it's really a story about how God shows up, especially in certain situations where they are out of their comfort zone. So if we can take young people out of their comfort zone, say doing evangelism, at camp, stress camping, doing something that is a little bit dangerous for Jesus' sake, not just for fun and games' sake, but that's when God shows up. And it's when hard times occur that the spiritual life goes like this. Now, we have to teach the Word.
Yes.
It's sort of like the foundation that you lay consistently, but by itself, it's not going to finish the job. We have to create situations where young people are challenged to move out of their comfort zones.
So we should not be just hearers, but we should also be doers.
Where did you ever hear that?
And somewhere in the biblical text, I think it's screaming at me right now.
It ends the Sermon on the Mount. That's exactly what we're talking about.
And thereby the kids begin to learn through experience and not just through hearing the Word. Is that right?
That's right. And so what I like to see churches do is move kids into, say, teaching Sunday school. Singing the choir is fine, but going out and being involved in the entire life of the church as the church reaches out. It's a little scary to do that sort of thing, but it's at that point that they begin to grow.
I just need to ask this question, and that is the fact that I believe what you're saying to me is that the youth need to have their own church, own the church, and be engaged and involved in ministry in the church. Shouldn't we be waiting until they're 22 years old and home from college?
You know, what we're doing when we do that, we teach them to be passive. We spend 18 years teaching them to be passive, and then we wonder why they drift off when they graduate from high school.
Wow.
We go back to the Sticky Faith Project.
Man.
It's the same deal. Let's involve them from the time that they are kindergarten age.
Wow.
Bring them right through. Allow them to serve. Allow them to sing, but also allow them. I really like the idea of high schoolers working with junior high kids. I love it when the drummer in the band is not just playing the drums, but teaching the younger kid to play the drum for Jesus.
Wow.
You know, so he becomes the teacher, and we as adults become the facilitator.
Wow. I found for myself when I was young and growing up that the people that were 4 or 5 years older than me, I modeled them. I mean, I desired to be like them.
That's right.
And so they had a great influence in my life, and I could see how they could have.
Positively or negatively.
This is true.
And so it's important that the older kids take full responsibility for helping younger kids walk the talk.
Well, of course, this whole process needs to be superintended by adults that are close by and providing wisdom and understanding about how this kind of development should occur. But most of the churches I talk to say that there really isn't a harvest of volunteers prepared to engage in youth ministry, and therefore we don't have enough people. The laborers are few, and they're not people to go to youth ministry. Is it that we're not asking, or is it that there really isn't an interest in youth ministry?
The ratio of volunteers to professional youth workers is 10 or 12 to 1. There are lots of people that are saying, I want to be involved. But they're in churches where they have been asked to get involved.
Wow.
People don't just raise their hand and say, count me in. It's persons like ourselves, pastors, leaders, elders, who say to them, have you considered working with our high school kids? I'd like to have you do this specific task with them, and I'll be there with you. So the question is, ask. Or it's not a question. The mandate is ask. Call on them to step out. Now, when I do it from the pulpit, nobody responds. It's when I look them in the eye and said, I believe you have something to give.
Well, that certainly challenges us in terms of being engaged and being involved in the issues of youth ministry. But just as you said for the youth that they need to be both hearers and doers, I'm asking this question about what needs to happen in terms of teaching people to do youth ministry. Can we simply attend seminary, engage in classes, and be in formal settings and learn youth ministry and believe that we're prepared to engage our youth?
No.
Took you.
I tell people that come to my classes, I can't teach you to be a youth pastor. I can't teach you to be a youth minister. I can only refine what God is doing already in your life. If you have an interest, if you have the passion, I can help you be better. But I can't implant in you something that isn't already there. Just like your daughter. She's a dancer. She can dance and she's good. But Daddy didn't teach her to dance.
No.
There was something innate in her that God gave to her. And now she's shaping that. Now, I don't think Daddy can help her get all that much better, but other people can coach her. And that's what we're doing a lot of the times. We're coaching the gifts.
So would it be appropriate to say then that there's a need for people who have a heart-given desire to engage in youth ministry, to be able to come and be in a class with you? I know that last semester you were teaching a class on church conflict, again, one of those interesting subjects, and to be able to refine their gift and be able to put their gift in the right place.
I love that. I love that because when they come, they are making a commitment to glean the best that they can get. Wow. And they ask the greatest questions. And you know who I like the best?
Who do you like the best?
I like the people that are in midlife.
Wow.
Because they've made enough mistakes that they say, there's got to be something that I missed somewhere along the line.
Well, for you people that have, like me, made enough mistakes, and I guess I'm midlife, we're calling for you. We're asking you to come to Trinity International University, located at 14240 Dante Avenue in Dalton, Illinois. We have classes there to train people in ministry, to refine them in areas of youth ministry and in other areas of call. You can have as your professor, Dr. Mark Center, who we've had an opportunity to engage today. Hope to see you soon. Hope to have you back on this program to look at the next theological subject that we're going to make practical. Thank you.
New Life Celebration Christian Academy, the right choice for developing tomorrow's leaders. New Life is registering students from 3 to 14 years of age now for their fall academic program. Full and part-time rates are available. DCFS and DHS Action for Children vouchers are accepted. Family rates available also. Enroll now by calling 708-849-2787. Our program offers high standards for curriculum, character development, Christian discipleship, physical education, student computer lab, Spanish, arts and crafts, and more. New Life Celebration Christian Academy, conveniently located at 14243 South Dante in Dalton, Illinois. Register now, 708-849-2787. 708-849-2787. New Life Celebration Christian Academy. We're growing leaders here.
Trinity has had a dedication to the Chicago students for the last 30 years or so.
All kinds of arenas of life are engaged in this kind of setting.
We take the centrality of the gospel and ask, how does it speak into urban realities?
We have younger students as well as people who are already professionals, and they come here to enhance their Christian education or their theological education.